right, well, we're going to have, I got a quick report here. I got some numbers on the correspondence course from this past month. Over this past month, we have gotten 14 new students. 14 new students have signed up to for our Bible correspondence course, and that now brings us up to 575 students. Of that number, we have 184 active students, which means there's 184 people that are pretty actively and regularly sending us lessons and corresponding with us, which translates into about 20 lessons a week. I go to the post office about every week, and usually there's about 20 lessons in there. This last week there was actually 26, and the post office box was getting kind of full. We also have, at this point, we have 55 people that have reached the end of our correspondence course as it stands right now. They're waiting for lesson 16, which at this point has been sent off to the translator, so that needs to get translated. Then once we get the translation back, then we'll format that, get it printed, and have it sent out to them. We also have some other students that are waiting on some other lessons. If you see here, look here, these are some of our lessons right here, and there's no lesson ones on the shelf. We're all out of lesson ones, and one of the reasons that happened is our printer broke his leg. So we're waiting for him to print lesson ones. We're getting kind of low on some other things, like lesson 14 is pretty low, lesson 12. Lesson 4, we really need to get some of those printed because we have a bunch of students that are coming through the ranks, and I have a feeling that pile is going to disappear pretty quickly. But at this point, we're waiting for our printer to get his leg healed up so that we can get some more lessons printed.
All right, well, I'm going to give you a quick update on Bible First and kind of let you know where things are going. Right now, we're in the process of writing our 18th lesson. And if you've been on our website, which I have behind me here, our Bible First webpage, you may have noticed that down here in the where we list all the lessons, right now it only shows 17. The final two lessons as it stands are lesson 16 covering Jacob and lesson 17 covering Joseph. Well, lo and behold, when we got to lesson 16, we realized that we couldn't fit the whole story of Jacob into one lesson. So Jacob expanded into lesson 17, and so now the subject of Jacob takes up lessons 16 and 17, and Joseph will be lessons 18 and 19. And of those two, we're currently working on writing lesson 18. So a lot of our time right now, or at least a lot of my time, is spent with actually writing the text. And I want to give you a quick overview of what goes into producing a lesson. And we've said this in some other publications before, but couldn't hurt to do a review. Obviously, the final result is a little booklet that looks like this. This is one of our Ukrainian lessons, the second one. And this lesson is, how many pages? 23 pages, something like that. And so that's how they turn out. And these are little booklets that we send to our students. They read the lesson. Along with the lesson, they read passages from their Bible as instructed here. And then they answer, there's a section in the back here where they answer questions, fill out the blanks, and then they mail this lesson back to us. We receive it, we grade it, and send it back. But in order to produce one of these lessons, there's quite a few man hours and quite a few steps that go into it. Usually where that starts is with me. I sit down and write the original text of the lesson. Once it's written, there are other people on our team that work with me on editing and adding different, they might add a box about a historical fact or a scientific fact or something like that. And then once we have a text that's written, then the next step that has to happen is that it has to be translated. We send the lesson off to a translator, and oftentimes while we're waiting for the translator to bring the text from English into Ukrainian, one thing that I'll be working on in the meantime is formatting. And you may have seen this screen before, but this is a screen from Adobe InDesign, and we lay out all our lessons here. And in this program, we can we have picture objects. Why is it not moving? There we go. We can take a picture and move it around and put it here, or raise it up, or I can decide, well, maybe I don't want the picture on that side. Maybe I want the picture to be over on this side, so I can put it there. And I have tools that I can use to move text boxes around, and we draw these, or we design these little boxes. Like this box says question in Ukrainian, and we try to just put our lessons together in such a way that they're visually appealing and easy to read, as opposed to opening the booklet and seeing just a sea of text. But that takes quite a bit of time. I'd say on average to format one lesson, it probably takes about 10 hours. To find the pictures and get all the graphics together and flow the text and so forth. So we lay it out there, and then once usually what you're looking at here is a Ukrainian version of the lesson. When we first lay it out, we lay it out in English. Then when we get the Ukrainian text back, we have to go through and read through it, compare it very carefully with the English, make sure we get all the errors out, get anything retranslated that needs that, and then we have to do the layout all again in Ukrainian. We first do it in English, and then we do it again a second time in Ukrainian. So anyway, right now we're spending a lot of our time on development and getting lesson 18 done. I'd say lesson 18 right now is about 2/3 complete. So I need to finish writing the text for lesson 18, and then it'll go through the editing process, and we'll be doing 19. And then we're also talking about doing a 20th lesson, which would be kind of a recap. In 20 lessons, or in 19, we've taken the student from creation all the way through the book of Genesis. All throughout, we've tied in all kinds of types of Christ and presented the salvation message from a lot of different angles. And so what we're talking about is having finished up with the story of Joseph and finishing the book of Genesis in lesson 19, then having lesson 20 be kind of a recap lesson, a final time to present the gospel, and finish up there. So we're on track and still shooting for a release date of, well, we don't have a date, but in the era of summer of 2011.
Last summer we made a trip to Ternopil. If you look here at the map, we're over here in Lviv, this green pin, and we went down here to Ternopil for a day. Ternopil is the capital of this oblast right here. An oblast is the Ukrainian equivalent of a county if you live in Texas, or a whole state if you live out in the Northeast. But anyway, we went there, we spent 2 days there, we passed out a whole bunch of invites for the correspondence course and for the book Good and Evil. And then about 2 months ago, we started getting a whole bunch of requests for the book Good and Evil from Ternopil. And the interesting thing was that all the requests were not coming back on the invites that we had passed out, but they were coming back on photocopies of our invites. And all the people that were requesting them were between the ages of 17 and 18. And so over the course of a couple of weeks, we got 20, 30 requests like this, and somewhere along the line, I had to call one of the guys to get some additional information. And I asked him, well, so how did you hear about our book Good and Evil? And he said, well, our teacher at school made us copies of the form and said if we fill out the form, then we can get a free copy of this book. So that explains why everything was on photocopies and why everybody was all the same age, because it was all the guys in this one class. Most of them were guys. There were a few girls finally that came and requested the books, but most of them were definitely guys. And all in all, we got about 58 requests from guys that were in that school that requested Good and Evil. And so that's an example of what one invite in the right hands can do. And it's also very interesting too, because they're all going to school here in the capital of Ternopil, but these students, they're from all over in the oblast. And so we went to the capital, we passed out a bunch of invites, but now our books are going out to towns and villages all throughout the Ternopil Oblast.